It was a warm, sticky morning at Camp Redstone, a small, disciplined military base tucked away in Georgia. Excitement buzzed through the mess hall like static. President Donald Trump was scheduled to visit for a surprise morale-boosting lunch with the troops, announced just days before. Private Maria Tellis, 24, stood in the kitchen, triple-checking trays of roasted chicken and cornbread. Raised in a small Texas town by her single father, a former soldier, Maria had joined the Army in his memory after he passed. The chance to serve the commander-in-chief felt like something he'd be proud of. Or so she kept telling herself. Across the kitchen, Specialist Zachary Cole stirred gravy in silence. At 27, Zachary was known for his quiet reliability. Always early, never complained, but today something felt off. "You good, Cole?" Maria asked, passing him a ladle. He hesitated. "Yeah, just thinking." Their sergeant clapped his hands. "All right, team. POTUS is on the way. Let's make these plates shine." Maria smiled nervously. She had never seen a president up close, let alone served one. Just before noon, the rumble of motorcade engines filled the base. Cameras rolled, soldiers stood tall, and President Trump entered the mess hall with a smile, shaking hands, cracking jokes. He approached the food line. Maria stepped forward, heart racing, and served with steady hands. Then it was Zachary's turn. He picked up a tray, but when he looked up and locked eyes with the president, he froze. President Trump waited. Zachary stood still. Then, in a quiet but steady voice, he said, "I'm sorry, sir. I can't serve you." The room went dead silent. Forks stopped midair. Conversations froze. Even the overhead fans seemed to stop spinning. Trump's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in confusion. "Excuse me?" he asked calmly. Zachary stood firm, gripping the ladle with trembling fingers. "With all due respect, Mr. President, I can't serve you." Gasps rippled across the room. Maria's heart sank. She knew Zachary as loyal, humble, respectful, never confrontational. A Secret Service agent subtly stepped forward. The commanding officer, Colonel Barnes, whispered urgently, "Specialist Cole, stand down. That's an order." But Trump raised a hand. "Let him speak." Zachary met the president's gaze. His voice, while soft, carried weight. "It's not about disrespect, sir. This is something I need to do for myself. If you'll let me, I'll explain." Trump stepped back and nodded. "You've got a minute. Make it count." Phones discreetly pointed toward Zachary now turned into spotlights. The room held its breath. "I've served every soldier on this base, followed every order. But today, serving you just doesn't feel right," Zachary began. "Not because of politics, because of my past." Maria clutched the counter. Something big was about to come out. Zachary's voice wavered. "My older brother, Elijah Cole, was a Marine, deployed to Afghanistan in 2010. Before his final mission, he wrote a letter home, but he never made it back." He looked straight at Trump. "That letter sat on our mantel for a year before I opened it. In it, Elijah talked about hope, about believing this country stood for truth, no matter how small your voice was. But after he died, my family was left with silence. No answers, no calls returned. We later learned he didn't die in combat. He died because a comm system failed, and the truth was covered up." Maria blinked back tears. She could feel every ounce of pain in his voice. "I joined the Army to believe it still meant something, Zachary said. But the truth was buried with my brother. Trump nodded slowly. So, you're refusing to serve food because no one listened to your family? Zachary responded, I'm refusing because someone needs to finally listen. Not to a soldier, but to a brother. The room stayed still. Trump stared at him, then surprised everyone. You honored your brother today, not by following an order, but by breaking one. That takes strength. Colonel Barnes looked stunned, unsure whether to step in. Trump turned to his aide. Get me Elijah Cole's file. Every document, email, memo. I want it now. The aide nodded, already dialing. Zachary blinked in disbelief. You're serious? I've lost friends to war, too, Trump said. If your family was ignored, then we failed. Not on my watch. The tension in Zachary's shoulders began to ease. Maybe, just maybe. Someone was finally listening. Maria stepped forward. Sir, I believe him. I read that letter once. It wasn't a goodbye. It was a warning. Trump turned to her. What kind of warning? She hesitated. That truth only survives when someone is brave enough to speak it, even when it hurts. 3 days later, under a gray sky in rural Ohio, a black SUV pulled up outside the Cole family home. Zachary and Maria sat quietly in the back. Trump rode in the front passenger seat, unusually quiet. I didn't expect this, Zachary admitted. Trump chuckled. Neither did my staff, but some things matter more than protocol. They arrived at the cemetery. Robert Cole stood at Elijah's grave, stoic, weathered. As Trump stepped out, emotion weighed heavy in the air. The cameras stayed behind. This wasn't for headlines. Dad, this is... I know who he is, Robert said, extending a hand. The huge handshake lasted only a second, but it meant something. Trump knelt at the grave, removed his hat. Elijah, he said, your brother refused to serve me, so I'd remember something I'd forgotten. That truth matters, and you died believing it. Zachary handed him Elijah's letter. I think it's time you read this. Trump read it aloud, voice steady. Dear Zach, if you're reading this, I didn't make it home. I wasn't afraid to die. I was afraid of being forgotten, not by you or Dad, but by the people we swore to protect. I hope one day someone listens when the silence gets too loud. It doesn't matter who's in charge. What matters is who cares enough to ask what went wrong. Trump looked up. Your brother was a poet. And a fighter, Zachary whispered. Robert stepped forward, voice cracking. We tried for 10 years to get someone to read that letter. They said it wasn't official, but it meant everything to us. Trump folded the letter, slid it into his pocket. I'm taking this to the Pentagon. We'll find the truth. Back at Camp Redstone, Maria scrolled through social media. A photo had leaked. Trump kneeling at Elijah's grave. No caption, no headline, just raw emotion. It went viral. Stories poured in, from widows, soldiers, civilians. This isn't just one family's story, Maria whispered. She posted, a soldier refused to serve, and in doing so, he served us all. Within hours, it hit 1 million shares. A week later, Senator Audrey Clean stood at a podium. For too long, we've ignored families like the Coles. That ends today. She introduced the Elijah Cole Act, requiring transparency in all non-combat military deaths. Maria turned to Zachary. They're naming it after your brother. Zachary was speechless. I didn't want fame, just someone to care. You got both, she said with a smile. Trump made another quiet visit to the mess hall. This time, Zachary stood behind. The food line. Hungry, sir? He asked, smiling. Trump grinned. Depends. You serving me today? Zachary placed a tray down. Today, I serve with pride. The room erupted in applause. No cameras, no politics, just unity. Elijah's story was added to Army training materials, a reminder of the power of speaking up. Maria transferred to a military mental health unit. I've seen too many quiet soldiers, she said. I want to help them speak. Zachary handed her a copy of Elijah's letter. Take his voice with you. I will, she promised. At a congressional hearing, Zachary testified, I'm not here to accuse. I'm here to remind. We're more than uniforms. We're people. And truth should never be buried. He received a standing ovation. A year later, Trump returned to Camp Redstone one final time as president. Zachary, now working at the Department of Veterans Affairs, joined him. Maria brought out 2 trays. You gonna eat this time, sir? She teased. Trump laughed. Only if he's serving. Zachary nodded. With honor. As the sun dipped low, Zachary stood at the flagpole and whispered the words his brother once wrote. What matters is not who's in charge, but who cares enough to ask what went wrong. That day, one soldier's refusal became a nation's awakening.